Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Dire team pick.
Hello everybody and welcome to some more StarLadder action. We've got Americas on our hands. We're still in the upper bracket. Not today versus Complexity. I'm Mama Down Under, joined by Gorgon, the Wonder Cow. How's it going?
It's going very well. I'm happy to be here casting again some America's action in the SLI League StarSeries Season 2.
Now, this is the upper bracket because it is a double elimination. Not Today beat out Enemy GG and Complexity beat out Freedom, although those games were closer, is my understanding, than people were expecting.
Yeah, so I was casting that yesterday on Complexity's end. It seemed like they needed a little bit of time to warm up, despite the fact that they had come in from a Dota 2 Canada Cup game. They really just didn't seem very cohesive as a squad. Maybe the Canada Cup game, which I wasn't able to watch because I was preparing to cast, right? Had been a little more disheveling than they would have liked, but by the time they had warmed up into the game, we saw why they are a world-class team. And Not Today have a lot of
reserve time.
I guess the way to say this is Not Today do not have a lot of opportunities left in front of them. They really need to move on here, or at the very least, they need to not be eliminated down in the lower bracket. But up against a team like Complexity, they are certainly coming in as the underdogs.
Yeah, this is a rough match. Not Today. You've probably heard of some of their members, but of course they don't have the... I mean, there are very few South American teams who have been able to get to larger lands. Not Today apparently were late to this match because they were at a land, but it wasn't something like Epicenter, you know, that Complexity has just come off the back of where they managed to knock out EG, right? So that's their impressive... Their work is done for the week. Over the last 2 weeks, so we will see. But Not Today, an interesting opener, not something, obviously I'm coming off of European games. We have not been seeing a lot of Nature's Prophet in the StarLadder series for Europe.
Yeah, we haven't been seeing a lot of Nature's Prophet really anywhere for the last week or two. He did hit a patch of popularity, but he has been kind of on the downswing in terms of professional level Dota. It fits a general push-oriented strategy, gives you a lot of split, especially if the Doom is going to be kind of charging around in a pack of 3 and trying to distract opponents, which seems to be something Not Today do like to do. One of the problems that Not Today tend to have as a squad is that they do have a tendency to have difficulty cracking into high ground even when they're playing at advantage, and their games do on average go a little longer than Complexity. So Nature's Prophet kind of fits their natural playstyle, even though even they have not played that very much on this patch.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah.
I think it's really difficult with the changes to the towers, the extra armor, and the moving back of the tier 3s, making it harder to just see to that high ground as we've seen in many games. So maybe this type of split push action will help them out. Obviously Complexity though have a bit of picks here to kind of figure out something. There are plenty of heroes that, you know, they're very mobile, they'll be able to get around the map and deal with the Nature's Prophet split pushing. So Ember being one that might get picked up, something I've seen Complexity play, but it's wide open. They could just ignore it and say we're going to win our lane so hard Nature's Prophet won't have any room.
Yeah, it's certainly an option, and the other aspect there is that with the Bounty Hunter and the Invoker, even if Nature's Prophet has rune, he could die any second. Between a potential Sunstrike, if this is an Exhort Invoker, which it usually is alongside a Bounty Hunter, right? And the global presence, the threat of the Bounty Hunter being nearby wherever that Nature's Prophet is. Even if the Nature's Prophet does well in his lane, is able to collapse into the jungle and get some farm, he could just be killed globally without very much investment from Complexity whatsoever.
Yeah, it's not as easy as it once was, that split pushing beast, but Complexity are taking a really long time on this next pickup. Not Today, for being late by 11 minutes, did receive a level 2 penalty, so they were down a minute of reserve time, as you can see, but Complexity are going deep with it, and I guess trying to figure out, maybe a little bit concerned where everyone is, although I'm expecting this is the 4 position Doom, not going to be something tricksy, but a couple teams have been experimenting, with Doom in the offlane. Nature's Prophet a while back was seen as a core, more in the one position. So the Complexity may be trying to make sure that they anticipate all these moves that NoT today have.
Yeah, I think NoT today have run the Nature's Prophet, I think 4 times on this patch, and they ran them a little bit last patch as well. They've never done a jungle, and they've never done a mid. I think they have done one solo safe lane with an aggressive tri lane. If I recall, I can't remember if that was 687 or 686, but the point of the matter is they have certain patterns of play, so I think Complexity are probably feeling pretty comfortable expecting an offlane Nature's Prophet and a semi-roaming Doom.
And they do pick up the Lina here, something that Complexity plays in a variety of ways. Complexity actually one of the teams that experiment with, I guess, some more out there things, some throwbacks, but I'm expecting this to support Lina, since that's something they do frequently pick up on Complexity.
Yeah, it most likely is going to be that support Lina. There's always the possibility, like you said, that they switch up the lanes in some weird way, but there's just not a lot of incentive to do it here, right? Into the Wind Ranger Invoker should be just fine. He's got the sustain in order to handle the power shots. He also has the damage in order to force the Wind Ranger kind of back a little bit. He does have a Bounty Hunter who can rotate in, and regardless of whether he goes Quaswex or if he goes for the Exhort-oriented build, he should be fine into that mid. So it's not like they have to rotate him out.
Yeah, I just always enjoy how Complexity sometimes, the throwbacks with doing stuff like a farming Leshrac that we've seen them occasionally pull out in odd situations, but we'll have to wait and see. For NoT today, it's the Windrunner. This is pretty much a mid matchup that everybody in this game should be very used to, Invoker versus Windrunner.
Yeah, this is not super common this patch, but it is not anything that we're not familiar with, right? Faceless Void is going to come out here for Complexity out of the off lane. That's a very survivable hero into a lack of stuns, at least so far. The Doom rotating in does have some movement speed, but that slow burn and ability to just kind of run someone down is not going to be very effective against the Faceless Void. So I think the Void is actually a pretty solid pick here, at least into what NoT today have so far.
5 seconds
They
remaining.
also have a lot of good stuff on Complexity. It's really easy for them to get damage into that Chronosphere right now. Obviously, you can set it up for track, Shuriken bouncing around, Invoker can Sunstrike early on. If you throw out that first Chronosphere, you get a Sunstrike to help you have that damage, and of course, all of Lina's toolkit can be dropped from far away. NoT today, also with the Lion, I'm almost surprised it comes out so late, because in Europe, that's so prioritized, right? Lion's one of those, first 2 pickups for a lot of teams.
Well, Lion is one of the most prioritized heroes this patch in professional Dota around the world, not just in Europe. But we've been seeing it a little bit less here in the Americas than in other regions, and in addition, it's not something that you usually see banned. It's something that you usually see picked, right? Lion is good enough to be prioritized as a pick, but not usually good enough to be something worth spending a ban on. And that does mean that if you don't want it and you're relatively sure your opponents don't want it, you can save it as long as you care to, because it isn't likely to actually be banned out.
Yeah.
5 seconds remaining.
And it's going to be the Drow ban out. Complexity not wanting to play against that. Another thing that we've been seeing pop up quite successfully. NoT today instead go with the Lifestealer. There's some interesting synergy here with Nature's Prophet can teleport 2 people in on a gank, but other than that, there isn't an easy vessel here for a Lifestealer to jump into, get a free ride, like with a hero that would naturally go Blink, or with someone like the Storm Spirit.
Lion will probably go Blink, but you don't usually want to Blink the Lion too far in anyway, and you don't want to wait until your hard 5 support gets a Blink before you're able to initiate, right? But with the Nature's Prophet teleporting, that's pretty much the synergy that they're looking for. And there's going to be an Axe coming out of Complexity Gaming. This could be an aggressive duo lane, potentially, into the Lifestealer.
I am, happy to see the Axe, obviously always fun. Someone we've been seeing in a variety of places, but I don't know. I'm really just interested to see how it goes down and whether Complexity will have enough damage as this game scales.
Yeah, Axe is their 4th most played hero this patch, and also their 4th most successful hero this patch for Complexity. It's definitely something that they know how to run, and it also works really well in the Lifestealer, especially since Axe's spin was changed to be pure damage, and Blade Mail was changed to be returned the same type of damage. Into a Lifestealer, the Rage is no longer very effective, right? Because not only can Axe call you through the Rage, but he can also deal damage to you through the Rage with both of those.
And while all of that's true, I just do get a little bit worried, because Lifestealer has the, opposite effect of if the axe gets very tanky, Lifestealer can do a lot of
That's
damage
true.
through that. And then, of course, you know, spin being RNG, maybe you just don't get the ones you want. Similarly, Lifestealer already has a lot of tools of avoiding the magic damage coming out of complexity until they do get that axe up on the Lena, which even though she's support, I'm expecting that to be the route. And with some of these heroes, like Doom is pretty tanky, the Windrunner can be very elusive. So I just do wonder, but we'll see. For complexity, it seems like an all-around nice pickup, this axe, especially into the Nature's Prophet, as you mentioned, with the blade mail changes. Very powerful.
Yeah, so Doom is going to be an interesting key player, I think, here for Not Today. Not only is he the hard counter that they have out to Swindles' Faceless Void, stopping him from being able to backtrack, or excuse me, time walk off damage, and preventing a Chronosphere to come out, but also he's really the hard counter to Chessie's Invoker, and he's the only mechanism that they'll have in order to really successfully kite out this axe in most cases, right? You do maybe have some stuns coming out of the Lion, since axe probably won't go for BKB, but if you're being forced to focus all of those stuns onto the axe, then you're not stopping the Lena from getting in, you're not stopping the Faceless Void from getting away.
Well, let's get into it on Not Today. We're going to see Benjaz, or Benjay, I think it's just Benjay. I don't know when he changed it to Benjaz, but Benjay playing that Lifestealer. Jericho on the Doom. We're going to be seeing Nightmare on the Lion. No, that's not Bane, friend. Leo Style, of course, playing that mid Windranger. And finally, on the off lane, we've got King Tekka working his way out. Gonna try to get some creep blocking going.
All right, and here for the Radiant side, on Complexity, we got Swindles playing the Tachyon Master, that Faceless Void. In the mid lane, Chessie is mixing it up with the Invoker. The roaming Bounty Hunter, Z-Freak, up here in the Dire side jungle, and in the safe lane is Handskin, burning up on the Lena, and Limp taking axe for a spin.
I'm really interested to see where Z-Freak ends up popping in. Obviously, it's sometimes a bit of a pain going the Windrunner in mid. But coming up to this top lane where there's already 3 heroes, there's very little potential to make something happen here for Complexity.
Yeah, I think he's waiting for the Doom to rotate out to go get creeps, and that's exactly what he is doing here. He's going to wait for the Doom to rotate to get creeps. He's going to steal some experience off of that, and also, if the Doom does stay in the jungle a little bit, there's the harass potential or the creep steal potential, right?
Yeah, amusingly, before this game started, Z-Freak, while they were waiting for the other team, went to go, quote, practice in the jungle in a lobby. So we'll see if he can put that to some use up against this poor Doom.
Oh, he's going to rotate onto Leo style, but not just a little bit of harass.
It's very difficult, right, with the Windrun. It will get easier as the Invoker gets more levels, but level 2, kind of underwhelming when it comes to having some utility to delay the Windrun. So.
Yeah, he also did go for the Windlace instead of the Orb of Venom, which is something that you usually do if you're planning on hunting people down and trying to get away in tough situations, rather than if you're, for example, going to try to gank a Windranger in the mid lane with a Cold Snap. That Orb of Venom is a pretty good pickup.
It's a really interesting... we've been seeing some changes to how people build, as you mentioned, with the introduction of both Windlace and, of course, the Blightstone. We've been seeing some differences in exactly what people want to go. Swindle's taking a lot of damage on the top lane, but we'll be able to just time walk away. And we are not seeing much action. You warned me yesterday. Obviously, Gorgon's been working some...
mids, there's some action.
Yeah, I get to eat my words. Can Leo style the power shot's not for 4 seconds for one more auto attack. That'll be First Blood. Z-Freak trying to get a kill onto Leo style, but the Windrun comes up just in time. And she'll even pound a little bit into Z-Freak, who gets caught up there in the trap. The power shots nicks him as well. And Chessie needs a pause. Hopefully
Chessie needs
wasn't...
a moment to register what just happened to him. Consider a buyback Sunstrike. He's got 2 levels of Exhort, so he might, if he nails it, he might be able to kill this.
Yeah, I really enjoy...
He's doing some calculations right now.
Yeah. We've got some cute old chat. This is still nice. This is still nice. Nice. This is actually, I really like that Leo Style's double checking this. Obviously, sometimes when you're late, you lose other things.
Yeah.
It definitely looked like he was like, oh yeah, I don't want you to pause, and obviously not exactly what went down.
Also, I was wrong. 15 damage off of potentially killing that Windranger without magic resist, so no potential there. But there's the rotation, and Z-Freak is going to pop back out. Leo Style obviously has no mana here, but he had a salve come out, who will be ready to jump back in the fight.
Yeah, this is really good for the Windrunner. Needs we say this time and time again, but obviously she needs a really strong start, and it's hard against an Invoker. Invoker just has lots of damage, is able to get up the Forge Spirit. You have to expect that there'll be a Bounty Hunter roaming. Leo style does not have a sentry in the mid lane, so getting that first blood invaluable.
Yeah. Also, look at Doom rotating in under smoke here. Probably not going to be able to find anything, but he did drop a ward, and that ward is going to provide just enough vision for Leo style to pretty regularly harass with Power Shot once the mana pool is there to actually do so. So this mid lane is going very well for the Wind Ranger, and they're committing a lot of resources to ensuring that the Invoker gets off to a slow.
Yeah, she is still down in lost hits, but again, it's Windrunner versus Invoker. She's got her work cut out for her. On talking about other lanes that are going really well, Faceless Void, already level 4, hasn't really been contested or pushed out of lane at all.
Yeah, it's like I said during the draft, they don't really have an answer to him in the laning phase. They kind of have Lion who can chain stun on his own, but not enough in order to kill the Faceless Void. If you can't kill him, then all the damage you do is irrelevant anyway, right? So Swindles is going to have a good time here. I really don't think there's any kill potential unless he's just wildly out of position. Or they can drain all of his mana, actually.
It's a really nice start for Complexity because, of course, maybe Swindles comes off the lane around that 6-minute mark when at this rate he will be hitting level 6. Get some sort of rune that can help them with the gank onto Windrunner. Speaking of that, though, of course, we've got Handskin ready. Light Strike array right on the mark. Windrunner will be going down in a few seconds. They can't quite chase, and suddenly the rotation from NoT today, they do manage to latch onto Handskin. Another nice Light Strike array. It looks like Jericho in trouble. A few more auto attacks. The Forge Spirit, not quite enough, and the Doom gets away with sub 40 health.
That was 0 to 5 in this lane, or excuse me, 0 to 4 in this lane for NoT today in a matter of seconds. That rotation is very good. And now Z-Freak.
Yeah, he is dusted up the auto. Oh, the power shot off the mark, but a how? Okay, Leo style. That was a very interesting shackle.
Yeah, well, every now and then you gotta sacrifice a goat to the many-faced god of shackles, and then you can make stuff like that happen.
I wish we had the rewind button. Not only was that just amazingly quick thinking, I am surprised that latched.
Yeah, it was definitely on the extreme end of what is an acceptable parallax for that shackle.
Yeah, well, this mid lane going very well now for the Windrunner, even though she is way down in CS compared to the Invoker, she is ahead in net worth. And for Complexity, I don't think it's all bad, right? Obviously, Swindle's lane is going very well. They are getting free farm in the bottom lane too. Yeah. But out of control Windrunner, you'll have to be careful.
How fast this Axis going is going to probably be Complexity's throttle for this game, right? He is getting basically free farm, and he is a hard answer to a lot of what NoT Today brings to the table if he can get his basic items up and jump in. He's gonna go for a Vanguard first, it looks like, and at that Vanguard, he should be able to tank all of the Treants, no problem. He should be able to cut lanes, no problem, and be pretty survivable jumping into somebody like the Wind Ranger as well, at least until she gets up in Ags and some additional damage. So whether or not that is going to be a Vanguard directly into trying to push and gank, or if it will be a Vanguard into a Blink into a Blade Mail, and that's when he starts to fight, is going to probably dictate how the rest of Complexity act.
I think as well up here in the top lane, NoT Today have to be a little bit careful. Swindles has hit level 6. If the Lifestealer isn't careful, that could be a Sunstrike thrown into the Chronosphere, and there's very little they can do about that.
Yeah, that Sunstrike, not quite high enough level to be independently very scary, but if you do get a couple of lucky time locks on Swindles, and he is jumping very heavily into the time lock as well here, that additional damage should be enough to clean it up. And Z-Freak is actually scouting out for the Sunstrike right now on Ben Haas, so watch for this potentially. He wants to make it happen.
It could be actually Ben Haas. Everybody, I've always heard people say Benjay, oh, he immediately pops the rage. He wants nothing to do with this. And Z-Freak, good job forcing him to use some mana, but what is happening in this bottom lane? Handskin with the TP away, it's not gonna happen! I didn't catch the beginning of that, but it looks like Handskin trying to get a little bit of tricky action in there on Jericho, and just didn't work out.
I led you astray with this Ben Haas nonsense, but Z-Freak has been investing very heavily in just kind of hanging out around opponents, and there we go. They are going to invest now. There's the Chronosphere, Z-Freak hanging around the outside, the Sunstrike is there, and the Shuriken for Z-Freak to help give him that little bit of boost in terms of money to get him going.
And that is the burst that can come out easily from the Chronosphere.
Yeah. The important thing there, too, is that there was a lot of coordination on Complexity, because Void by himself could do barely any damage at all in that Chronosphere. He just doesn't have the attack speed in order to get any sort of physical damage or even the magical damage out of Time Lock is very dependent on his attack speed. So making sure that the Invoker is ready to Sunstrike and that you do have the follow-up from the Bounty Hunter in case you don't quite finish it off inside of the Chronosphere is pretty big.
They're coming in, just harassing Limp some. I'm really interested to see what these team fights shape up to look like for either side. I hadn't been thinking about it too much, but of course Faceless Void with the time dilation, a little bit of a pain here to some of these heroes on NoT today who want to be throwing out frequently the spells like the Lion. Even for Windrunner, it could cause a couple problems as she gets levels.
Yeah, and they're still controlling the pace of the game relatively well here for NoT today. They're not applying quite as much pressure as I think they would ideally like to, but they haven't gotten up those core items yet either. But Benhaz is very, very close to getting his armlet up. That will be a big moment for them, especially if he manages to get that up before really the rest of Complexity are ready to engage. The Invoker getting close, actually not that close to the Midas. I assumed he was getting close, but he must have gotten shut out of lane a little bit harder than I expected.
Well, he also has the Aquila. He had a little bit of trouble, of course, right after the ganks, and it just means that he is still ahead of the Windrunner, but maybe just not enough.
Oh boy.
We see Jericho in a spot of trouble. Limp does have boots. There's going to be a Sunstrike as well, and that plus the Shuriken will finish off that Doom. So a nice little pickup there for Complexity.
And now take a look at this massive stack that has been stacked up for Limp. He can take these very, very quickly now with the max counter helix pure damage.
Oh, Windrunner got 2 of those, I think?
Yeah, they're the small dragons that aren't magic immune.
I mean, you'll take it.
You'll take it for sure. It's not the end of the world for Limp, though. He's pretty happy to get all the big boys and walk away. As is Z-Freak, he's going to be very close to level 6 at the end of this little activity.
Yeah, this is really fantastic for Z-Freak. It's often very difficult for the Bounty Hunter to get level 6 at the appropriate time, but obviously with the introduction of that Tome of Knowledge, and then if you have somebody who will let you soak the experience while they clear stacks, suddenly level 6 at 10 minutes in, not looking too difficult.
Yeah, he should actually be able to get it off of these neutrals, if not just one wave sitting in lane, even with an ally nearby. It's going to be there, and that's the tracks. You need to be getting early tracks on Bounty Hunter in order to actually leverage him into any sort of advantage. Oh, Doom is going to get a courier here, too. He decided not to go for it.
Oh, I mean, now it sees him. He's going to drop it. Oh, and it tasted. One more hit, he gets it! And the Lion dies elsewhere, which is not as exciting as the courier going down. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ice Frog, for the extended attack range on melee heroes.
Yeah.
For that courier.
Oh, we have Nature's Prophet coming in. Let's see if they can catch out Chessie, but way too far away. This is just a push.
Yeah, they're just going to force him back a bit, but the axe is nearby, and Limp is still sitting pretty decently on damage and does have the extra armor from Berserker's Call available. I don't think they're going to be able to actually aggress onto this tower.
Yeah, if they're not careful as well with a little bit of stun action, yeah, they can just run up all Leo style. You gotta juke, you gotta jive, because there is a Sunstrike most likely with your name on it.
They'll be alright. The Sunstrike's not quite.
Oh, the finger! You were saying. Sorry, just Swindle's dying, you know.
Yeah, Swindle's just getting caught. Now that the Lion is level 6, there is a mechanism to kill the Faceless Void, because the finger is that first damage.
Gosh, and in mid, Leo Style in a lot of trouble, eats a Laguna Blade of his own, gets his head chopped off, and Jericho will just try for the TP away the coL. Not quite fast enough. So they do lose the Windrunner.
Wow, that call actually did hit Jericho. He was pulled out of his fountain with it, but it didn't hit him fast enough in order to cancel the channeling. It just gave him the buff. But in his fountain, he walked out of his fountain under the effects of that call.
That is one I haven't seen before. But with all of these engagements, with taking the stack, Complexity is pulling ahead. And as you said, they're dictating the pace of the game. What should NoT today do here? Is it sit back and farm? Are they waiting for a specific item before they can start being the aggressors?
It looks like they're going to wait for Benhaz to get an Echo Saber up. It seems to be the play here for them, and maybe get level 11 as well so that he can jump into an Ancient. And at that point in time, they'll probably just kind of all in a lane and push. But Nightmare is going to... Yeah, bye-bye. Yeah.
Nothing much you can do there. Swindle's even coming over just in case. We have people all over the place. Doom gonna fly out onto Swindles, but Limp with the coL in the creeps, getting 2 spins. Can he get some more? There's gonna be the Rage trying to save Benji's life. Limp going forwards, isn't able to quite get the head chop off, and they will kill off Bounty Hunter. Benji is still tracked up, in a little bit of trouble there. There's another spin. Oh gosh, this is not going so well for the Nature's Prophet, and Laguna Blade finishes him off, and now the Chronosphere blocking off Jericho from going anywhere, but it's a trap. Leo Style on the other side, but barely tickling Handskin there. Needs some more damage. Sunstrike gonna be what finishes off Jericho. Benjay comes back in with the rage, not gonna get hit by that, and now Swindles caught out of position. He has time lapse in a second, is able to get on out. The stun too late. And when the dust settles, I feel like that was a 3 for 3 when the dust settles, or a 3 for 2 in favor of...
I think a 2 for 2?
Oh, wow.
Right? But...
I can't remember if the lion died at the very
Oh, he did,
beginning.
you're right. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh gosh, but they are trying to get Chessie to shackle. It does not land on the trees, but the nature's ants, can they find him? No, Chessie is way too fast. Like a rabbit. Oh gosh, and now Limp has found somebody else on the sidelines. There's gonna be no head chop, but it's not looking great for Nightmare. Leo Style waiting there, has a shackle. Does manage to land it, but where's their damage? Oh gosh.
You can't be there.
Limp looking for more Light Strike Array onto 2. Jericho, the tanky Doom, gonna take a tumble. Tries to get out, but his own tree. His teammate blocking his escape.
Yep. Benhaz is up to the Oblivion staff. He's getting close to his Echo Saber, but I feel like they've itemized for the wrong pacing of this game. As soon as that axe started to get going, they needed to start applying pressure on the other cores and maybe split pushing around the map so that the axe isn't able to just handily farm down opponents, right? If he has to move across the map in order to grab people, he'll still be getting kills, but he won't be getting them in this rapid fire momentum that's really going to help Complexity through this mid game. Up top.
Yeah, Z-Freak in a lot of trouble. Another auto attack will end up bringing him down. Well-placed sentry there, making sure that they can get the kill, but of course, we'll see whether that's enough for Not Today, since those other series of kills with the tracks as well, suddenly 5,000 gold ahead for Complexity.
Yeah, and this is exactly how you have to leverage a bounty hunter, right? Getting off a couple of early track kills, making sure that you have some good rotation through the jungle, and your opponents aren't able to maximize their income throughout the laning phase. Nightmare's going to go down here in the river, another jump on by Limp, and they just keep... He's just sitting near the river here, kind of between this mid lane and the top lane with his mouth open, and they fall in.
Oh, there's gonna be Scorched Earth from Doom. They are looking for Swindles. They find him, he drops the Chronosphere defensively and will be able to TP out.
Yeah, so if you're Not Today, right now, the Nature's Prophet is still working toward a Midas, it looks like. Which is, I think that is the wrong call by a wide margin. The Wind Ranger did get a Maelstrom, which is a defensible call, but maybe not the ideal situation to be in, because that's going to help you push into towers, but it's not going to help you take any towers. In terms of Doombringer, he still doesn't have any core items up either. In fact, only the Lifestealer has what you would consider a core item up, and he did just finish his Echo Saber as well. Now the Wind Ranger with the Maelstrom.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of this build coming out, Maelstrom instead of the Ags Rush that used to be a patch or two ago. Popular one, I'm just not sure if it's enough damage yet. Especially with the Bounty Hunter about to have the mech up versus the Doom, really not rocking anything. Sure, he has that Devour, but without the team having a good time, you know, only 16 lost hits on this Doom.
Yeah, we're going to have a rotation down into the bottom. If they can find something here, that would be okay. But they're unfortunately going to find Faceless Void who can time walk away. Yep, through the Doom. And Doom hoping that there's somebody to dust there, but
gosh,
no targets.
Courier. We're gonna see some more murder. Oh gosh, poor thing, it goes down.
At least it didn't have anything on it. At this stage in the game, a Courier kill's not the end. It hurts, but it's not like having the Courier sniped earlier where Jericho managed to grab it. Okay.
Well, Doom's gonna try to surprise Swindles, but doesn't realize he's surrounded. Oh gosh, there's Limp with the jump in. Doesn't actually hit on enough of them. A nice shackle holding him in place. They need the damage output now, but a force stomp away. Gonna push him to safety. Oh, and coming in on the back, Swindles has the Chronosphere in 1 second. Gets it onto 2, and that is gonna be Windrunner in a lot of trouble. She's gonna go down. 3 quick kills for Complexity, and Not Today, forced to just try and run away. Not even sure that the Lion can escape here. There it is, the Blink, coL, and Nightmare in trouble.
That's a very nice play by Complexity, even though they did lose the Faceless Void there. Who bought back? Yeah, okay, he did buy back. I had to check. Yeah, so they lost the Void, but that was a smoke investment coming out of Not Today. It was a heavy rotation investment. They weren't farming in anticipation of that event as well, right? Benhaz continues to kind of rotate around and get farm for himself, but he's not going to be able to solo take on his opponents. They need to be able to find a couple of pickoffs before Not Today are really going to be in a position to take this game. But on the plus side, though, with Axe having gone for both a Blink Dagger and a Force Staff, he is not going to scale into the late game quite as well as the Lifestealer will, at least theoretically, because he has not gone into a lot of damage. He's gone into a lot of mobility, which you typically use in order to secure. So if Not Today can kind of buy some time and wait out Complexity's power spike, they may be able to bounce back into this, despite the fact that they are very far behind.
Is under attack.
It might be about to be further. We got a track on the window now. We got someone blink calling right onto her face. Leo style doesn't have any backup. This should be an easy pick. They are not going for that dunk. Okay, it's actually going to burn down to the culling, not culling blade, the battle hunger.
Yeah, the Laguna Blade enough to secure that out. And now, an additional defensive item here with the Crimson Guard is going to give a lot of sustain for Complexity out onto towers, but bear in mind that they don't have a lot of tower damage potential, right? They just have the ability to stand by towers for a really long time. So that Crimson Guard is going to maximize that, make sure that opponents are forced to fight into an unfavorable position in order to defend towers. But on the plus side, Not Today are going to have much more time than against a traditional pushing lineup in order to choose when the right time to fight is near their towers.
Swindle's looking for someone to put into that chronosphere.
There it is.
We'll see him, yeah, managing to catch out this Nature's Prophet. Gonna be going down. Looking like they just run over him. They actually throw out the Doom onto Swindles, but there is no more teammates around here for Doom. So Jericho most likely just gonna take a tumbled lion, trying to see whether he can stay nearby and maybe get a stun to save his life, but it will not be enough. There's another dunk coming out of Limp.
There was no reason. There was no reason to throw that Doom out there, right? Like, Swindles had already cast Chronosphere. You're not going to kill him solo into both him and the Invoker that you could clearly see right there. So, I'm really not sure why that decision came out of the Doom.
Oh, Chessie at top tried to be fancy onto Leo style, but it looks like Leo style going to be the one giving him the goose. Although, I'm not sure that giving him the goose is actually idiom for killing someone. So
it's an idiom for doing something bad to him.
Excellent.
So,
Excellent.
you know.
So we'll pretend that wasn't a bad turn of phrase. I was gonna say, if they can overweight the hump, you're right. I think that there's some great scaling on Not Today. It is just a mighty power peak because of course Invoker continues scaling so well. They have a lot of synergy with the Chronosphere. As I say that, I jinx Swindles, who's about to take a stun. But Nature's Prophet neglected to TP in. They are gonna try to keep going after him. He has another time walk up shortly. Do they have the damage? The finger helps them get it. Ben has will
nice.
Benjay can do it.
Benha's grabbing that. He also has a Desolator up now. He is going to be very difficult to take down, and he is going to scale much better than the Axe. But meanwhile, Leo Style is getting caught out once again to Limp. And even with the double damage turn, she's just immediately going to die, having done no damage to Axe.
Dunk is just not enough. Limp is huge. Has the Crimson Guard as well. That's so good against this lineup, right?
Yeah.
Both Nature's Prophet and the Windrunner take a lot. Oh, I mean, even the Lifestealer, because of the Rage interaction, it just really helps to have that damage block across the team.
Yeah, and once again, it helps give them that additional sustain around objectives, which otherwise might be difficult for Complexity to take. You can see they're not investing very heavily into the towers yet because they want to continue to take picks on Not Today. They can maximize their returns with the track on picks and just get their economic lead so far ahead that there's no potential for defense. That seems to be the game plan right now, kind of choke hold out Not Today until they are basically forced to tap. Benha's not buying it, though. He's continuing to farm and looking to get active, hopefully, here pretty soon. We haven't seen very much out of him.
It's a 12,000 gold lead for Complexity. Similar story when it comes to experience, but they still seem to be doing really well. Nature's Prophet get caught out again. Like, they just can't afford this on Not Today. There's going to be a missed shackle opportunity for Leeds there. The rest of the team is trying to come around and do something nice. Ice Wall dropped. Benhouse coming in, trying to see what he can do onto Limp. There's the Doom as well. They should be able to get a pick off here. That's huge for them. Can they catch up Chessie?
They are going to lose a lion here in trade.
Yeah,
That's a good trade to make.
They will, okay, as we say, they're going to lose the lion. A stun.
Sunstrike
doing
is coming
really
up,
good
though.
work. Not only Sunstrike, but the plus the Forge Spirits following along.
That's a great trade, though. Like 900 gold onto Benhaz over the Axe. You also shutting the Axe down a little bit there. And in addition, remember,
Oh gosh.
Oh god.
They are still going on. There's going to be a Sunstrike with Benji's name on it. Z-Freak playing around with his Lotus Orb. They have lost the Life Stealer. Nature's Prophet comes on back in. They get their cooldown blocked with that time dilation. But now the Nature's Prophet forced to turn around and fight, but blown up. Nice Life Strike array. Jericho going to fall as well. And they will just extend their lead on Complexity.
Yeah, Complexity are in a position where they should be able to go pretty easily, knock down tier 2s whenever they have the axe up. That little additional sustain is something that I think they do need in order to reliably move in there with relative safety. They may decide to go Roche first, though. Z-Freak needs some mana. He's running around with nothing left in enemy territory, and if he does get teleported and on and dusted here, he would die.
There's just not much. I mean, this really, looking at Z-Freak's items, really just tells you the state of the game. The fact that he has 7 urn charges is such an indication of the dominance coming out here for Complexity. Normally, you always try to keep your own at 0 because you get 2 when you kill someone, but he just doesn't need to heal up his teammates. And people die so fast, there's no reason to throw it out on them.
Also, his items, the fact that he had by 20 minutes a Mechanism, a Lotus Orb, an Urn, and Mana Boots, I believe. That's as a support bounty hunter, that's a pretty good kit around the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, it's looking very, very grim for NoT today. Of course, they do still, as we've talked about, have some great late game if they can make it there. But without even the Aghanims on Windrunner, I mean, their doom, as we've talked about, working now on a 4-staff.
Yeah, that's reasonable because you have to try kite out the axe. And also, I think that the Wind Rangers skipping the Ags at least for a little while because they don't need it to push, and the additional attacks on the axe just it turns your own damage against you, right? So there's no real reason to get that over some other form of damage that doesn't increase your attack speed onto really axe is the big problem here.
Complexity have gone for a smoke. They will realize immediately that they are doing the broche, but it's already gone down. Very quick for them to take it with that DD on Leo style. They're trying to see on Complexity still if they can make something happen here. Swindle's smoked up, but everybody gonna head down for oh, actually they managed to catch out Limp here. If they can find this kill, this will be pretty big. They are needing to walk away a little bit. There is gonna be the Sunstrike. Limp taking damage, he'll finally fall, but the rest of the team in a lot of trouble. Korea goes down again. Swindle's thinking about it, but just walking it away some, waiting for the rest of his team to get in. Nature's Prophet's actually trying to TP behind them. They managed to catch out Handskin. Leo Style has to be careful here. The Chronosphere only catches Jericho on the sidelines. Windrunner thrown up into the air while they are trying to go onto Z-Freak. Unfortunately, Windrunner blown up. Nature's Prophet soon to follow, and Boca doing good damage onto him. There is a buyback on Axe coming in now as well, and suddenly Z-Freak in a little bit of trouble. Will they be able to pick him up? One more auto attack would do the trick, but they just can't quite catch up to him. And now Benjay going to go down, most likely tracked up. They've seen it all, and he will just try to walk away on the toggle Swindle. No, it's not going to be enough. Aegis down. No one can come in and save him.
Yeah, he doesn't have his ult either. He did. It was a pretty clever play for him to use his ult there onto the creep that Limp was trying to teleport in. That basically wasted Limp's buyback, right? He wasn't around for that fight. They didn't need him for that fight, as it turns out, but that play could have turned that fight around if his team had not gotten so low. On the plus side, for NoT today, at least they denied the Roshan potential to Complexity for the next 8 minutes or so. They did take a couple of trades in that, and they forced the buyback out of them. Unfortunately, they're just so far behind, and all of the track damage, or the track gold that comes out of fights like that as well, make it not a valuable trade.
Yeah. Not today. They will need to rally. Unfortunately, Jericho getting cold there, just blown up so quickly. Leo Style standing right in the middle of them, but that's not where she can fight. And this Windrunner, she's going to try to defend with all of her might, but it does not look like it will be enough. Complexity getting themselves a rack. There's another call, trying to pull the Windrunner back. She gets Life Striker rate and blown up. The dunk to finish her off.
Yeah, at this point in time, I don't really know that NoT today have a lot of comeback potential on this, unless Complexity completely screw up. Right? If they do something underpants on head stupid, then maybe NoT today are back in this, but with one lane of racks down, the Wind Rangers are only splash damage, which means a lane of supers is going to be difficult for them to handle. There's no indication that Complexity will not be able to take another lane of supers. They're now 20,000 net worth in the lead at short of 30 minutes, and 4 of the top 5 net worth in the game are sitting on their team as well. Only the Life Stealer, who's barely staying ahead of the Bounty Hunter and the Void manages to even secure top 5.
Yeah, for NoT today, they need complexity to dive their fountain, and they need complexity to do it a few times, it feels like. Other itemization ways they could get back into it, because it does just feel like this Windrunner, she is working towards the Axe now, but it just feels like they're lacking damage on NoT right now and can't get through the Axe's tankiness. Obviously, he has a lot of armor, especially when he uses that coL.
Now, you do have the Desolator to try and stop some of that armor problem. The problem is you get so much out of that call that the Desolator is a drop in the bucket. By the time you're going up to, like 40, 50 armor, dropping 8 is a couple of % more damage. It's really very negligible. And then on top, the Crimson Guard. They need some magical damage maybe to knock them down. There is not a pipe available for complexity. So if they do leverage out the Nature's Prophet ult very well, as we say this, Leo Styles.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Yeah, I was just gonna say if they manage to catch Limp off guard like they did down bottom, they throw the Doom on him and then they hit him with all of their magical damage spells. Yeah, they can kill him, but pretty much it takes that.
We have got a Diffusal and a Gem up on Swindles. He is pretty dang stacked for the Faceless Void. I mean, I was a little bit worried, as we talked about them scaling, about exactly how their damage goes, as you said, if they missed their peak maybe on complexity, but they don't need to worry. They've got a Faceless Void core, and now they're going to work on the racks. Jericho trying to set up for the Doom, but instead just gets cold. Will he get blown up before he can even use it? Yes, he will. A nice Light Strike Array. The Tornado manages to catch out the Lion. He's going to be walked in on next, just trying to run away. Won't be able to get out. And that'll be it. GG's are cold.
Very well played by Complexity. They had a very specific goal. They executed it both in their build and in their overall gameplay. And NoT today kind of walked into the trap, to be honest, at a couple of points in this game. Benha's not as active as he needed to be in order to shut down that strength of the mid-game coming out of Complexity, and they gave up way too much momentum to the Bounty Hunter tracks. I mean, look at that. He has 8 kills and 17 assists. Almost every single one of those is a Bounty track.
Yeah, Bounty Hunter was doing ridiculously well. We pointed out on the net worth that your Bounty Hunter having 500 GPM even earlier in the game, right? He was probably